Hey, I wanted to make a video because I noticed how many sneaky ways there can still be in my psyche where it seems like there's still something in this life, in the matrix, in the thought identified realm that can make me sustainably satisfied. It's hard to let go of that because it's hard to let go of thinking that you can do something, you as an individual can do something that will result in sustainable satisfaction. It's hard to give up that illusion of power. Don't mind the dappled lights on my face. That's just light coming in through the blinds and it will change. Um, yeah. Even when you let go of this and this and this, then there's still like, well, but that. Maybe there's one other thing. There's one other avenue to try. And humans tend to learn the hard way, and I guess that's kind of by design because if we learn the easy way, you just, you get a download and you know everything, and then the end. You don't need to have experiences. You don't need to learn in your own unique way. So maybe there's really no point to this video at all, and go do whatever you're gonna do. Um, but anyway, I feel like making it. So yeah, um, and it's not to say no one can have a beautiful mind identified life in the Matrix. Um, there's no universal judge that I know of. Things happen like they happen. So maybe some types of people are fully satisfied in the Matrix. They have causes and conditions that mean they're never going to have interest in anything beyond it. Um, and of course, even when you see someone you think is like that, they might have depths you're not aware of because they don't share them. And people can change too. But if you're here on my humble video down at the trail end of the rabbit hole, it's probably already too late for you to be satisfied in the matrix. And that's not good or bad. You're not special. You're not cursed. Um, for me, it's like a tree with a bigger canopy or a smaller canopy, or an insect with larger wings or smaller wings. It's just how it happened. Um, so you might as well settle into the karma you were born with and do the thing your soul most wants to do, right? but but the conditioning is deep and it dies hard, even for people like us. When I was younger, I thought, even though I had moments, I had breakthroughs, I had insights, but I still thought, well, but if I can get good grades, go to a good college, and get a prestigious, world-changing job, then I'll be worthy and happy. Um, and I got the grades, I went to the good college, I graduated, and I realized it was a treadmill. Like there was never going to be any lasting satisfaction. Certainly not in a society. I mean, certainly not because of um, some position in society. A society that generally prizes advances and supports the wrong things. Um, I could sense that any prestigious, powerful job I might even get, there would eventually come a point where it's like, I can't continue this in good conscience. This is not going to work for me. And then I'd be back where I started, right? Um, and either way, I knew it wouldn't define me in a meaningful way. I saw so many prestigious people who were insecure and empty and fake. And it just, like, it was kind of like, here, come join the elite. And it was like, no, thank you. So, of course, if I hadn't kind of met some elites and gotten a degree at a prestigious school, I might still be wondering, maybe if I got a prestigious degree, I'd be worthy. Um, but for what it's worth, I can tell you from my own experience, that's not it. So what's left? Maybe helping people, right? That can certainly be its own end. You don't need to justify it, you can just do it. But is me helping other people a basis for my own long-term satisfaction? Helping them what? Helping them be fulfilled in this life when I don't know how to do it for myself. Like, how do I really know what they need? Maybe you can help somebody get food and that's great, but what then? If I have food and I'm not fulfilled, then, maybe they can find their own way. But I mean, the point is, just speaking as this one, is just helping people going to be fulfilling, or is eventually that going to be just kind of like a burnout or even an empty experience that's just trying to make myself feel better and never quite doing it? Um, what about making, I mean, this is along the same lines, but like making a difference in the world. Like, how much of a difference? How do you define it? How do you measure it? What percentage of change in the world will you be satisfied? And how will you know? How will you ever know anything you do is of net benefit, right? And again, that's not a recipe for doing nothing. But if your goal is I'm going to change this world, and that's where you're aiming, what if you don't? So what about being a devoutly religious person who believes if you do the right thing, you get to go to heaven, have eternal reward? Well, first of all, you're living for something that may or may not be true, because with belief, there's always going to be some doubt. And that can come out sideways in a lot of ways, like trying to repress and oppress other people, because if their ideas are different from yours, and if they're right and you're wrong, that means you might either be like doing good for nothing, or it might mean you're going to hell, like even someone else's hell. And that's terrifying. So you live all your life kind of, again, trying to change other people to believe like you believe because you can't handle the idea that your beliefs might be wrong. Um, and of course, a lot of that being good goes out sideways too, because a lot of time it's suppressing something that, in my opinion, is normal and healthy. And, you end up with closeted Republicans making nasty laws about gay people, Catholic priests doing what they do, Catholic nuns being horribly abusive to little kids. I mean, they're notorious for it. Um, yeah, in the big picture, I mean, pick a religion, it doesn't seem to be going great, to be honest. Um, so, what about relationships? Well, anyone who's been in any number of relationships can tell you that they can be unsatisfying, they can end, people can change, and people can die. So, like sure, have relationships, but understand that can change at any moment. So if you're pinning your happiness, your self-worth, your satisfaction on somebody else, that can, um, yeah, that's not always going to go the way you want it to. What about having kids? Well, I mean, obviously you can, they're cute and they carry on your genetic line. Surely that's meaningful. In my experience, no, not really. I mean, not on its own, not as such, because like almost anybody can squirt, can carry on their genetic line. It doesn't mean it's a good genetic line. And not to mention like genetics, it doesn't mean as much as we tend to think it does. Like, you really never know what you're going to get when you have kids. It's a total crapshoot, actually, um, for one thing. So if you're expecting them to be a mini you, or to have your same interests, or to love you unconditionally in the way that you want them to, um, it's not always going to work out like that. It's not going to take you over any finish lines. If anything, like at least in my case, it just showed me how far I had to go, which can be wonderful in its way. Like it was a huge catalyst of growth for me, because what can you do in the face of a toddler who's screaming at you and it feels like rejection and abandonment and abuse and an emergency in your body? And it's none of those things. It's just an upset kid, but it feels like that. It feels awful. And but you can't blame the toddler for your feelings. The way that you could have, maybe it's more appropriate to blame your parents for your feelings. You can't blame your toddler for your feelings. I mean, okay, most people do actually, and that's how the trauma gets passed down, right? But I couldn't do that. I I um I wasn't remotely prepared for how intense it all was, but I knew that somehow I had to deal with myself and not pin everything on these innocent kids. And it really kicked my ass into the healing journey that I'm still on, for which I'm grateful. But yeah, it's like thinking it's going to be, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how everyone else's experiences is, but that was mine. So what about if you're a member of some interlocking society where there's rituals and everybody's, in their place, and it's orderly and it's nice, it's even beautiful. Um, that can be nice. But what if you think differently than the people in the society? What if you don't fit? Or what if another society has different ideas and they come and slaughter you or take you over and force you to fit into their society? That happens all the time in history. It's a possibility at every moment. Um, Destruction of everything you erected a pillar of meaning on can be annihilated at any moment. And these kind of right-wing tribalists in the U.S. I mean, I think that's kind of what they feel like. They feel like, oh, like Christian white straight men are in danger because we've erected a patriarchy, white supremacist patriarchy where we get all the benefits and blah blah blah, and it feels like an existential threat for that to. I mean, it's if they pin a bunch of their meaning on that or worth on that, then yeah, it feels existential when it's threatened by, God forbid, other people having other ideas and other perspectives and other opinions, right? Um, yeah. What about spiritual enlightenment? Well, if you think of it as a state or an achievement that's always out in front of you, then it's just something else you're perpetually chasing. And I'll talk more on that later, the kind of paradox of it. Um, but yeah, I think sometimes about what would be my last thoughts if there was a super volcano that was like an extinction level super volcano that was going to wipe out human societies, right? Completely. Um, it's going to be pretty clear at that point that whatever toil and like being good and meaning and um, purpose you had within this thought identified society, it's pretty meaningless. Um, species is gone, society is gone, religion is gone, and you wasted your time. Unless, here's how you don't waste your time if you enjoyed it along the way. And that is to say, like, if you're enjoying it right here, right now, you can learn for fun, you can be an activist for fun, you can swing for fun, you can enjoy existence as it happens. You can even make money for fun if you understand it's ultimately meaningless and you don't hang your self worth on it. You can watch all the drama of history unfold and even step into it and play a part. If you realize it's a play, if you're just like, if you don't have like, it has to be this outcome at this time, but here I am in the midst of this crazy story. I don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, we see the consequences of people trying to be satisfied in this life. They want something they can build a pillar on, hang their hat on, and it makes them so uptight and rigid. They keep waiting for that moment that everything will be like they want it to be, and they think it will satisfy them. But first of all, the world will never totally conform to anyone's idea. It's like way too dynamic for that. And even if it did, the seeking mechanism would find something else to be dissatisfied about. So it's like it's not the way. That's not the way. So of course, I mean all that's not bad. It's like without this dissatisfaction, without this drive, without this fundamental urge to make things different, to make things okay, There'd be no history. It's like the way that we were built, or the way that we evolved, we rub up against each other like friction for each other, and just kind of see what sparks fly out, right? We learn about this existence and about this species, which our species isn't special. It's all we can really say about it is it's the most advanced one that we know about. Um, and we're learning about ourselves, learning about what we perceive to be the apparent universe, filtered through brains that have been bouncing off each other for so many millennia. We've all become a little bit insane. Um, you end up with grotesqueries like Mohammed bin Salman, a bone saw murderer sitting next to Donald Trump, an indescribable human being. Like, where do you even start? Um, and Trump is preening and simpering so hard. The wealthy bone saw murderer is like smiling but really cringing. Like you can complete. I mean, because he's a bone saw murderer, but he's not as he's a little more normal than Trump, put it that way. Um, in some ways, but yeah, like anybody with the tiniest shred of self-respect would be cringing in that in that situation. He's like, is it even worth it to play nice with this absolute buffoon to get cover for my crimes and sweetheart military deals? It's like it's just yeah. There's some wild scenes in this utterly bizarre universe, and it's like, what mind even comes up with that? But apparently, it's our minds, like all rubbing together like static electricity until there's a lightning strike of utter absurdity erupting from our collective fucked upness. And then two of them collide, and it's just like, it's quite a show. And like, my cats, they get to skulk around, sniff things, take naps, get snuggles, and sometimes eat grass and throw it up. And like, that's their existence. But ours is so much more complex because of our big brains. Um, the universe seems to be learning through us lessons about intelligence and pain and power and the wounded tenderness at the core of all of it. And I know that without hardship, there'd be no such thing as courage or heroism. Um, and like, I don't know, here we are. We all find ourselves somewhere on the 80,000 dimensional chessboard, and we get to choose our own adventure within the constraints and possibilities presented to us. So, yeah, the bad news is nothing within the game can be grasped and put in your pocket as a sure thing. The good news is that everything can be inherently satisfying as long as you refrain from being dissatisfied by it. Like, actually, nothing needs to be satisfying or dissatisfying. It's like these are just thoughts, transient experiences. So, what's beyond satisfying and unsatisfying? Just this. It keeps showing up, ever renewing, always here, always effectively infinite because it changes so fast that, like, before you can grasp one thing, 60 billion other parts have moved. Um, Endless things to explore within and without, never boring. It can't be, it's too full. Um, but when you find yourself, once you've seen through the conditioning, you might find yourself in a kind of no man's land where you're still partially mind identified in sneaky ways, especially having to do with trauma. Um, but you're also alienated from the mind identified world. It's like you've left one shore behind, but part of you hasn't quite let go of the tether, and you have no idea what's ahead. You literally can't have any idea what's ahead. And it's a rough place to be. It's like it's an intrepid place to be. Um, it's a real adventure, as real as it gets. And at the same time, it's a road to nowhere. It's like you're already here, and you literally can't be anywhere else. And the mind spins and spins trying to grasp what's not graspable. And the body lights up with dread, grief, terror, repressed rage, whatever's in there. And it can feel like a dark, lonely, hopeless place. And like there's nothing you can do about it. You can't fix it. You can't change it. You can't make it be anything other than it is. But you keep going, one foot in front of the other, because that's who you were born to be. And it's okay. It's already okay, somehow. And yeah, part of what tripped me up lately, until recently, was the paradox of like, it's already here, and you can trust the unbinding that's ongoing. The mind's like, well, which is it? Um, because it's painful right now, and I hope it doesn't stay that way forever. And I can't pretend that I don't hope that, right? And there's no rational way out of the paradox, only a paradoxical sense of both and. Yes, it's already fine, and yes, it's going to continue unbinding and surprising you. Here we are, and here we go. This is it, and it's always changing. And I don't get to decide how it changes, but I can allow the change without resisting and without resisting the resistance. Like, yeah. More on that in the next video. But yeah, I know you can hear these words a million times, and then suddenly one day it hits different, and I can't express exactly how it did for me. I guess if we could, this would all be much faster and easier, right? But if the journey's the thing, then you might as well enjoy it as it goes.